Hello, I am Addison Morris with the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and this is Cannabis Clip Notes with Nikki Lawley. Nikki is a sales executive, an LPN, cannabis advocate, and an influencer and thought leader in the cannabis industry. Nikki is a TBI survivor. She is the founder and CEO of Nikki and the Plant, which was created to bring cannabis mainstream and to focus on the medicinal benefits of cannabis, particularly for traumatic brain injury. Now, Nikki, how to make cannabis work for you via in, inhalation is a subject I've never thought about. I Seriously, I've never thought about this. Over all these years, I just inhale and just assume that the cannabis is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So, can you elaborate on this?
Absolutely, Addison. Thanks so much for having me. Excuse me, Steve. Maybe not. um, Nikki Lawley. I'm calling from Buffalo, New York here, and I had to discover the plant without any instructions or anyone kind of teaching me how to do the pot. So I'm here to kind of share a little bit about my experience and how I figured out what worked for me and why. So for me, I find all the benefits of the plant really in the terpenes and the synergistic effect of the whole plant. What's that mean? I don't just take the chocolate chips out of the cookie batter recipe. I eat all the cookie batter. So when I'm talking about a plant, I use the whole plant the best I can. And I am one who needs to smoke their medicine. I say needs because I have a unique digestive system that doesn't really process and metabolize edibles the correct way because I lack one of the genes responsible for that. And it's a whole thing as to why smoking works for me. And I've learned how to really dial that in. So for me, when I would smell different cannabis products, I really didn't understand the difference. And then it sort of dawned on me this is really just like smelling essential oils. Think of those essential oils that you use that, make your house smell good, that make it smell like lemons, pine sol. These are all derivatives of what we consider terpenes, only they're not toxic like pine sol or anything like that. That's just a smell kind of comparison for you guys. But at the end of the day, when you smell a product and you're able to actually smell it, your nose kind of knows what smells good and what your body is looking for. When you smoke cannabis, though, a lot of those terpenes get sucked up because terpenes are very sensitive to the air, to heat, and just smoking it. When you burn a joint, that is at 451 degrees Fahrenheit. A lot of your terpenes, the ones especially that I like when I smell that cannabis, including limonene and pinene, which happen to be my most favorite terps for my cognitive function. So, having a traumatic brain injury, cognitive function is really a struggle for me still to this day. But with the correct cannabis and with the correct terpenes, I am that person that just becomes the rain man almost. It just things click. Cannabis connects the dots, I like to say. That's why I'm always in polka dots. So anyone going to MJ Biz, look for the polka dots and the red blazer. You will find Nikki Lawley. Anyway, back to my inhalation school. One of the things I really started looking at was what's the science behind this? As a nurse, I really needed to kind of understand why certain cannabis made me like fall asleep or it really energized me and helped me focus. And these were all what I found personally was through the terpenes. So I stumbled upon this great website and I created with the partnership of the Amazing Flower this amazing guide, which details all the terpenes. I know you guys can't see it, but if you're going to Vegas, just reach out and say, I want to get one of those guides. You can also find it at nikkiandtheplant.org under education. It just really gives you kind of a way to dial in what works for you. So, the things I struggle with the most are cognitive function, anxiety and depression, and chronic pain from my head and neck. And when you can look at this chart and kind of see what you're looking to treat, it kind of helps you dial in those terpenes. But keep in mind, if you're combusting, that boiling point is really important to take note of. And in the guide, we do have the boiling points of the different terpenes. So when you low temp dab, which is with extracts and using a low temperature rather than that extra hot 550 degrees or 600 degrees, you will get more of that terpene experience. If you low temp vape, you also will have more of that terpene experience. And a lot of people buy cannabis based on THC percent. And honestly, that's really not the way to do it. Not because you won't feel the same effects, but you will have a truly enhanced experience if you can experience the whole plant and its terpenes. You can always raise the temperature, but you can't bring it down. So I always recommend people start at a low temp if they're using a vape, if they're using a dab. Unfortunately, if you're lighting a joint, you don't really have an option in this matter because as soon as you set fire to it, it's 451 degrees. So you'll get some of those terps initially, but it's about understanding how the terpenes interact with your body and what effect you're looking for. I really choose to focus on the effects you're looking for. That's why I share the three things that I kind of look for in my cannabis. And one type of cannabis isn't necessarily going to work for all of you. You know, you're going to have to find what works for you personally. Because at the end of the day, we all have our own unique bodies, we have our own unique systems. It's just like any other medication one might take or alcohol that they might utilize. It affects all of us differently. And so just be open to trying and experimenting because there's no one size fits all. And we just all have to be mindful that what works for me might not work for you. And, you know, I never give medical advice or anything like that. I'm just sharing my personal experience and maybe it'll help someone else figure out what works for them. But I can't emphasize enough that learning terpenes is where it will really help you dial in that experience.
It's so intense on what you're talking about that I forgot that I am part of this cannabis clip notes. Uh, I didn't understand the difference between actually smoking and doing an edible. That is so interesting. And I have a whole list of questions. So I definitely think that we need to do this again, Nikki, um, because this was enlightening, you know, and just in this short period of time, you explained why, because I had no insight into why edibles didn't work for me, why my experience with smoking is different than my experience with a vape cartridge, and the effects are so different. Uh, you absolutely fascinating. So you really truly have to agree to do another cannabis clip notes on this, um, just to answer the list of questions that I have.
Sure.
Very good. And for those who want to rewatch this, this is available on all the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce social media. It is being uploaded to our website, and it this was just an amazing cannabis clip notes. It's very hard to end it, but thank you, Nikki, And thank you for agreeing to do a couple of more of these, to do the series.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to do it. And what's crazy is I know a lot about edibles as well because I now represent an amazing edible company, Groon, out of Oregon, and I'm in New York. And so I'm their wholesale rep. And I know a whole lot about edibles now, even for those that uh, have the right genes that they can take it.
Then I think that that is this topic that we should cover on the next one.
Hmm.
Um, because especially for people in my age group, it is, to be honest, it's difficult for me to smoke anymore. And I find that women closer to my age group prefer the edibles.
Absolutely.
And it's very frustrating for me not to have the same results as they do, especially with edibles with CBG in them and
Yes.
CBN, no,
Yes.
CBG. So thank
G's,
you.
they're amazing, and we have products for those. So, and again, you might have to take more than the average person, or, but again, it's all about going low and starting slow rather than going all in and taking like three of them because you haven't felt other edibles before because they aren't all created equal.
And that's always a good piece of advice there, especially for patients who are just beginning to try to find what works for them. So, again, thank you so much. And, hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks on Cannabis Clip Notes.